As soon as the news broke that somebody had managed to steal more than $80 million through a cyber attack, every serious organised crime group with a cyber capability will have been looking to do the same themselves. The question we want to answer is who else has been attacked and who else is involved.
They did undertake the same attack on a number of different banks. Bangladesh Bank would have been the biggest one that they undertook, the biggest attack that they undertook. But certainly there were a number of other victims, and there continue to be victims even after this, but from another of threat actors who are now trying to emulate the same thing.
So it's only after the Bangladesh bank attack and looking into the code that we managed to find overlaps between the sample from the Bangladesh bank attack and previous bank attacks. There were potentially attacks in Ecuador and Vietnam that were linked to the attacks that happened in the Bangladesh bank attack. And we wouldn't have made those links without having seen the sample, linking that to Sony and then linking it to the further attacks. The attacks in Ecuador and Vietnam were nowhere near as successful as the attack on the Bangladesh bank. Maybe it was just them preparing and testing what they were capable of.
The usual mode of operation is to go for large volumes, small value of things. Some significant global banks who would be perhaps on a par within the financial industry have been targeted. But it is more unusual up until now because there is a large outlay, as we've said about the preparation time. So there's a large outlay that criminals have to put out in order to access this level of fraud. And obviously, one slight thing can go wrong, the whole thing could collapse.
Criminal groups operate really ruthlessly in terms of return on investment. They look to get the most reward for the minimum risk within the resources they have available and in what's possible. If I was the head of an organised crime group, I would have been asking, do we have the resources to carry out this kind of attack? And if not, why not?
So the correspondent banking systems, there's already strong legislation which covers the money laundering risk. Banks have put in place systems to monitor those transactions for the risk of money laundering. That's the money laundering risk, but what about the cyber risk of the actual endpoints of the network being compromised?
So the attackers used the SWIFT system in the attack, but it was by no means a fault of the SWIFT system. Following that, there have been releases and recommendations from SWIFT and other cybersecurity companies like our own, advising for best practice when using systems such as that.
Or SWIFT, with their customer security program, are taking the approach of really raising the trust level between those endpoints from a cyber point of view. What this means is that it's an attestation-based scheme. This helps to rebuild the level of trust that the global correspondent banking network relies on. And that's really critical to ensuring that there is no major impact to international trade, there is no major impact to being able to transfer money and bank in different countries and different territories around the world.
So we've seen what impact this attack had on the rest of the organised crime world. Who else might be involved?